What is up? Today I'm going to be walking you through my gym session and everything we're taking beforehand. And we're now filming it horizontal because hopefully I'm going to upload this to YouTube. So you're going to hear some great information, some great talking points, and hopefully you'll be able to apply it to your training. So straight into it, what do we have here? What am I drinking pre and intra workout? So first off, we have these fun things here. If Jack wants to come show. So we have a couple nootropics, these two specifically before training, and then these two kind of help you get through the rest of the day, keep you productive cognitively. Alongside a very underrated nootropic that a lot of people will not take or don't take enough of is creatine. 20 to even 30 grams a day can be very beneficial for your cognitive health, giving you some ATP production throughout the day for your brain and your muscles. That's exactly what we want. So without further ado, let's get straight into the pre-workout. I actually just had 3 cups of coffee, so I'm going to go with a non-stim because I don't like to have a whole lot of caffeine throughout the day. So this is the NutriCost stim-free pre-workout formula, and it's actually very good. It has a lot of good ingredients in it. L-citrulline, beta-alanine, taurine, L-carnitine, N-acetyl L-tyrosine, alpha-GPC, all of those good things. Check the TV. Ronnie Coleman, of course, posing because, you know, you got to get in that mindset before you go train. And that's something that I see a lot of people not do. They just go in, just like they're going to the grocery store. You can't do that. You need to have a separate mindset. You need to have a separate discipline. And it's a second job. You should treat it as one. When you're going into the gym, you're there for a reason. You're there for a purpose. So don't waste time, people. It pisses me off. Straight into the intro workout, we're going to do 1 scoop of Electrolyte. So a lot of people actually don't need an electrolyte because they have way too much sodium and not enough potassium. So make sure your electrolyte has a good amount of potassium, and make sure that if you are taking an electrolyte that you are getting adequate potassium from your foods and not just getting sodium from excess electrolyte packets, because that's the issue that a lot of people do. Next thing, EAAs, essential amino acids. We're going to do 10 grams. So this is an extra 10 grams of protein that is going to go in your total macro count for the day. So people will say you don't need it. Why would you not want extra protein all the time? If you can stimulate muscle protein synthesis every second of the day, you damn believe I'm going to be doing that. So straight into the shaker it goes. So far we have our hydration covered. We have MPS stimulation covered. Last thing, and the most important thing in an intro workout, a carb source. So you can either use cluster dextrin. It's going to be a little easier on the gut, or you can use dextrose. So when I was at the peak of my growth phase, I was doing, 2.5 scoops of this, and that got pretty heavy on the gut. So this next growth phase, I'm going to be switching to cluster dextrin because it's easier on the gut, and therefore the carbohydrates hit a little faster. Now the last thing I'm going to add into my intro here, like I said, excess sodium in the electrolyte drink, usually not enough potassium. So we're going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of light salt to get some potassium. And then that is it for the intra and pre-workout here. Then I'm going to bring my big ass jug so I can drink some water after I drink my intra. And we're going to be all set. So we will see you guys in the car on the way to the gym. Fresh cut, fresh fade. I know. So what are you hitting, Jack? What is on your program today from your coach?
A little interior day.
A little interior day?
Focus on the delts, focus on the chest.
Okay. I believe on his program here for deltoids, right? So we're going to do a couple things. Obviously, we want side lateral work. So I usually program a machine lateral raise or a cable lateral raise are my preferences, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that much. This thing's still on, right? Hopefully. But I assume you do some sort of shoulder flexion, so like a neutral grip. Just think of this. That's going to hit your front delt. It's going to incorporate your upper chest as well. And then that's basically it for delts on a push day. So yeah. So Jack's going to hit push. I'm going to hit pull. But right now, after finishing my cut, I realized that I need to bring up a couple things. First off, my glutes and my hamstrings definitely need to come up a lot. So what are we going to do for that? Well, we're going to do more volume. And a lot of people want to shy away from doing too much volume, too much of this, too much of that. If you have a body part that is lagging and you've only been training it 4 sets total, there is no reason for you to stay at that 4 sets in my mind, or any professional bodybuilder's mind. No Mr. Olympia got huge delts, huge hamstrings, huge biceps, whatever, by doing 3 weekly sets, right? So the problem with full body splits is that, yes, you can get good frequency on it, but if you really need to specialize in something, the volume has to be pulled from somewhere. And once you get a little more advanced, and once you maybe have the issue that I'm running into, you need to bring up a body part, such as your hamstrings. You're not going to be able to do, frequency for everything with 4 sets. So doing like an RDL, doing one variation of a hamstring curl, and then maybe even adding in another would seem like a lot. But if your hamstrings are what you're trying to bring up in a growth phase, then you should do that. So that's what I'm doing. Dumbbell RDL, laying hamstring curl, and then I might add a seated one in, and then I'm going to add in some more glute exercises. And then obviously we're going to keep doing back. I really like the wide grip assisted pull up, and then the close grip pull down, and then I do a wide grip row for some scapular retraction. I'm going to post a video today on Jack here. He had a video of him doing a wide grip row, and it was really good. So when you're doing that, you want to cue the scap retraction first, and then use your shoulder and your lats to pull it the rest of the way back, and you will incorporate some traps and rhomboids and rear delts, obviously. So that's kind of how I structure back training. So we're going to go in there. We're going to smash it today, but it's going to be great. Had a great morning so far.
So, Mr. Kick, what do you think about doing bilateral versus unilateral work on pull movements?
I think it's good. Like, I have a pretty bad imbalance. I've noticed where my left lat is way overactive compared to my right. So do I think every single exercise needs to be unilateral for that? No. Do I think you should be conscious and aware of how your body moves dynamically in space and statically, but mostly dynamically? Yes. So I think when you're doing a pulling movement, just making sure your rib cage is not super compressed or tilted on one side, because that is going to lead to even worse compensation patterns over time. Keeping proper breathing, proper bracing. Don't lose your brace. Expand your rib cage, hold it, then pull, exhale on the way up, reset, do it again. And that's how you can keep a proper brace. And then therefore, later down the line, you will possibly run into less of those issues with future imbalances. And then while you're doing the corrective exercises in the first place, then you can kind of mitigate those things down the line, because you're taking action on what needs to be done right now. So yes, then you would add in like a unilateral lat pull down. Like today, I'm probably going to do something, I don't know what I'm going to do, but something unilateral on my right side, and I'm going to start that side first. And I'll do like, 2 working sets starting with this side, and then kind of having my other lat do like 2 RAR on that side just to give it a break. But then this one, try to recruit some more motor units, whatever you want to call it.
All right, Mr. Kick, what do you think about dopamine around the gym and being on your phone in between sets, or kind of just, I don't know, not
in
really
general
focusing? Yeah, like not,
yeah.
like you're going to the gym, but you're not necessarily focused on what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're just on your phone the whole time.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
So in my mind, it's almost like going to the library and then not actually applying yourself to do the work, and then just kind of hoping that you'll learn the content or learn whatever you need for the class just because you did the action of going to the library. Just because you went to the grocery store doesn't mean that you're able to cook and eat the food, right? You said there's still more to the process. That's kind of how I view it. So I was talking to one of my clients yesterday. He's a powerlifting client. He was telling me how after he hits his top set, he gets so much dopamine, so much serotonin from that, and then he kind of calms down and he kind of chills, because that's the hardest part of your workout as a power lifter is your top set usually. Then after, everything else you could give a shit about. So he was telling me he kind of doom scrolls, and then after that he feels like shit because all the weights feel heavier. The CNS feels more taxed, and this is something that's very common nowadays. And I've even fallen into the trap. I'm not perfect, but just the temptation of having a phone in your pocket 24/7 and to take a mental break from what you're doing, because what you're doing in the gym is very hard. It's not easy at all, and having to stay mentally focused for an hour and a half to 2 hours on something rather intense is not only very energy consuming on your body, but it requires a lot of energy and glucose consumption from your brain. So you need to be conscious and be aware of these things, is what I would say is the first step in kind of fixing that. Just realize what you're doing there and why you do this. Whatever your reason is, I want to look better, I want to feel better mentally, I want to get more girls, I want to body build, all of those things, right? You need to give yourself the time and the thought behind it to actually emphasize and then therefore achieve what you're doing. It's not going to happen overnight, obviously, but every session you go into the gym and slack off and not focus and not push yourself, you're not doing yourself any good. Now you just wasted time because you didn't actually complete the workout at the intensity that your coach or whoever is helping you, or even just yourself, deep down wants you to do, because that's how you're going to make progress. So I think taking a good pre-workout is a very underrated supplement that people overlook. Oh, caffeine's bad for you. You don't want too much caffeine. Well, yes, but if the caffeine and the alpha GPC, the L-tyrosine, and all of those things within the pre-workout, the pump products, are going to make you feel the contractions better, they're going to make you focus better, then you definitely 100% should take the pre-workout and should not steer away from them, especially as a beginner, because it's going to give you energy. It's going to give you dopamine around your training, and you're going to be able to enjoy it and then therefore work harder and then be more efficient and proficient at what you are doing. So that's my thoughts. Do you have any questions about anything I said, Jack?
I was obviously just going to add on a little bit. I think that kind of goes back to just focusing on your actual lift, and that in itself gives you dopamine. Like, and then having that rest and that recovery. Like, I think about it as a graph. Like most things, I think in a graph, you have your maintenance, you have your above maintenance, and your below maintenance. So say you just got done with the top set, your dopamine is through the roof, and then you get right on your phone and you doom scroll, just increasing that dopamine, and then your crash is just going to be even worse.
Yes.
So if you're going to the gym and you're getting a workout in, get your workout in. We're not here to be on our phones. We're here to get a fucking lift in, boys.
Exactly. Get a pump. Be a sick cunt.
We have arrived.
All right, guys. So our first exercise here is the laying hamstring curl. Like I said, we're going to do either, maybe even 4 sets. I don't know, 3 sets at least. And on this, I tend to keep a little closer of a stance, I guess you could call it, on this. You're going to get some of the semimembranosus, semitendinosus bias on that. But anyways, besides the point, just keeping a stack and then expanding posteriorly, but also staying braced while you're doing that. So if you were to expand anteriorly, your gut would be coming out, but you kind of hold your brace here and then breathe through your back, let your lats kind of expand. That's going to help you hold down and stay locked in while you're doing this machine, because if you don't do that, the weight on this side is going to be pulling your body backwards while you're trying to do that. You don't want that to happen. So you want to stay locked in and secure within the machine. So I'm going to do this 185 right now, and then maybe I'll go up if I feel like it, but we're going to go for about So we're also doing this exercise first because my hamstrings are one of my worst right now. So by doing it first, we're going to give that muscle more chance to grow. We're exerting more energy, more force output onto that muscle because we're coming fresh into the session rather than putting it like fourth or fifth exercise where we're already fatigued, getting sick of being here. So I'm going to smash the set now. Is it going? Thanks. Not the attire, putting on barefoot shoes, because in a pressing or like a hinge movement or even a pushing or pulling movement, you really do want to be able to feel the floor. And if you're wearing slides, you can feel them sometimes, but not as good as if you're wearing a shoe where you can spread your toe box onto the floor and also have your heel and then have like a tripod foot support going on. Explain what the tripod on the foot is. Okay. So you have your heel, the base, and then you have right under your pinky toe and right under your big toe. Those are the 3 points of contact that you want your foot to be making with the ground. So when I'm doing an RDL or a hinge, I am spreading the pressure all over, and I'm not just on my heels, I'm not just on my toes. So you'll see if we come over here. So as you can see, my foot is on full contact with the ground. Then I'm hinging, keeping my brace, driving through my entire foot and keeping contact through my entire foot, the entire concentric and eccentric. Because if you don't use your feet, you're going to run into stability issues trying to do anything above 50 pounds. All right, guys. So we're going to do the 120s for, I don't even know how many until I can't. But for top sets, what music do I listen to? So actually, for a lot of my warm-ups, I don't listen to music, or I listen to a podcast. So you want to decrease the amount of external stimulus that you are getting during your workout so you can push force output and internal stimulus out onto the weight and onto whatever else you have to do. You want to stay focused and have stimulus with intention and not just noise and clatter. So classical music is great. Something that is actually calming and directing your energy and force is what you want, rather than, always having some music that'll get you hyped up. Because there's a time and place for music that gets you hyped. But if it's every single set, then I wonder how focused and how intentional are you actually being with the weights and the volume you're doing. So with that, enough talking. Next exercise we're doing here is just a straight leg single calf raise. I'm having some issues with my right foot, and I fractured my foot a long time ago. I'm pressing through like the toe box on this foot has been giving me some issues, so I'm kind of chilling on the calf training. Volume's a little bit lower, but This is like the 5th exercise we're doing. Hip abduction. So what is this going to do? Extension. So bringing your femur backwards, then also hip abduction, bringing your femur out, abduction, alien abduction, going away. So we're doing 1 set forward leaning and 1 set backwards leaning. You're just going to get a glute medius and a glute max bias there. Just a nice little touch on top of the RDL and the other hip bias or hip extension bias exercise I'm going to do. Also, nicotine gum intra workout. Nicotine is a nootropic in itself. Use it. Speak. All right, we're gonna do a stack.
On this set here, you will definitely notice how it doesn't seem like I'm getting much range of motion, and that's actually intentional. My femur runs out of room inside my hip socket at the end of this range of motion, so do not try to push it past your natural range of motion. Just stay within your natural range and then just feel it out, hit the failure point, and then just chill, because on an exercise like this, the lack of range of motion may be concerning for some people, but not everything needs to be, hypermobile, I guess.
So we're doing a frontal pull-up, or a frontal assisted pull-up here. So your lats have 2 functions. So they do shoulder extension, so extending your shoulder like this. So that could be in the form of an overhead close grip pull down, shoulder extension that way, or a lat row shoulder extension, pull over shoulder extension. So you can do those. You can do a pullover, you can do a row, and then you can do close grip pull up if your back needs the volume, right? But what people do, a common mistake, is not include shoulder adduction. So your lower lats have the function of bringing your humerus down to your hip, basically. So when you're in the frontal plane, if you picture a glass pane, we're trying to stay inside the glass pane while we're doing a pull up. So that's what I'm going to show you right now. We're going to do about 8 to 10. It's my 2nd set. So yeah, let's get to it. Two quick things about that set. You notice when you see people do this, they tend to go into an anterior pelvic tilt and lose core stability to use momentum, from within their own body almost, right? They may not be swinging, but if they're not keeping their brace, then all of these other body parts, their hips, lower back, all of those are going to compensate. So you want to do a posterior, bringing the back down, pelvic tilt, bring your butt cheeks down. And then you want to breathe in, brace your core, keep that while you're staying in that plane. And then, so everything starts with your core because your legs are supported. So then that moves up to your scapula. When I'm doing this, you don't see my scapula raising and depressing. I keep it either neutral or depressed down. And then once my lats can't go any higher, my arms, they're stuck. If I want to reach higher, I need to move my shoulder and therefore my scapula. We don't want to do that. So stay within your range of motion. Don't go too excessively at the bottom and don't go too excessively at the top where you have to shrug yourself over. And finally, keep your cervical spine in line with the rest of your kinetic chain. Keep a gentle chin tuck, maybe looking slight up. Don't look straight down and don't go into neck extension like that. Keep a good consistent form, good tempo, keep your good stacking. So this is one of the last back movements we're doing. This is a sagittal row. So I'm doing a slightly flared grip to incorporate some rear delts. Guys, you're going to see Q scap retraction for the upper, mid, and lower traps. Then we're going to actually use some of that shoulder extension I was just talking about a moment ago, and also some shoulder horizontal abduction, fancy words, for the rear lat or delts, rear delts. So enough yapping. Also, watch the rib cage, watch how I'm stacked, and watch how I'm using my feet to produce force and bracing throughout my whole entire kinetic chain, because everything starts from your feet and your arms. You need to counter the force of this pulling you forward with your legs and brace your core so your kinetic chain is connected.
So before you start your set here, what are some cues to think about before you start? Like, are you engaging core? Like, how hard are you pressing your chest against the pad?
So Jack just asked, what are some cues that you should be using for anything like this, like a press or a row, where there is another force pushing on you? So first off, you want to start from the ground up. Start with your feet. The tripod, like I talked about. Press, get yourself stable, push yourself back into the seat, or if there's something pulling you forward, position yourself so you are in line and set up. And then from there, get the core ready. So I like to put my hands here, feel my rib cage expand, not only from the front, but from the sides and the back. Hold that in. And then, like I said, stacking. So when I mean that, I mean here, just come over here. So my feet, heels over toes, or heels in line with toes. I'm pushing away, and then my ankles are over my knees. My knees are in line with my hips. My hips are in line with my ribs. My ribs are in line with my shoulders. My shoulders are in line with my neck and my chin. And then I'm pulling it, and I'm staying in this stacked motion rather than collapsing my sternum this way, collapsing this way. So that's what we want to do. So I'm going to demonstrate what that should look like now. That was a little bit heavy. That's okay. Sometimes working in the 4 to 6 rep range is okay, but you have to be precise. You have to make your tempo the exact same. You have to make your execution the exact same. And that's the reason why I don't always give my clients a 4 to 6 rep range, because if they cannot execute every single rep, same tempo, hold their positioning, then the set is useless, and they'd be better off just going to an 8 to 12 where they can hold their positioning, hold their tempo, and actually use the target tissue that we're trying to bias. All right, so earlier in the car, I was talking about how I have an imbalance in Jack asked about unilateral training. So this is the one unilateral movement I'm going to be doing. Single arm pullover. I'm going to start with the right side to dedicate some more force, higher threshold motor units to that side. So let's just get straight into it. The last thing we're doing here, we're just going to do a bicep cable hammer curl. Ideally, I'd do a preacher curl too, but I'm kind of crunched on time, so gotta keep shit moving. So we're going to do this brachioradialis bias. Fancy words.
I like to cue these hammer curls a pretty specific way. First off, I start with depressing my scap, so bringing my shoulder blades down. And then while I'm pulling, I pull slightly in front of me, not super close to my body. I also externally rotate my shoulders, so bring my shoulder outwards because I am a little bit taller. I have a wider wingspan, so to actually get the line of pull in line with my biceps, I need to have a wider grip slightly. And sometimes on a rope, that's a bit harder to do, but we can get it done by externally rotating that shoulder, as you see right here.
So we just wrapped up posterior. Basically, what that means pull, like a pull day with some hamstrings, glutes, and calves. So quick rundown overview of what we did. We started with legs, started with hamstrings, went into another hamstring / glute movement. I kind of like to do that, have a compound reinforcing the area I'm working on, like a row, going to be total back movement, and then like a lat isolation movement. So we started with hamstrings and glutes, and then we went into some back work, some pull-ups, some pullovers, and then finished off with little biceps redelts. So now what are we going to do from here? For recovery, what does recovery entail? Like, obviously there's the stuff like taking ice baths, foam rolling, and what do I have to say about that? I think they're great. But the people who like to emphasize those things do not do the basic things that are going to give them better and more efficient recovery, such as 8 hours of sleep, going to bed on a consistent schedule throughout the entire week. Eating proper pre and post workout meals is going to reduce the amount of fatigue and CNS tax on you day by day, because your body is not starving and trying to pull nutrients to fix the muscle breakdown that has occurred from out of your ass, basically, because you're giving it the foods that you need right off the bat after your session. So then those fancy recovery tools like a hot bath, that's great, you should do that, but don't let the hot bath get in the way of your sleep. Heating pad is another one I really like if I'm sore. Heating a muscle is great. Ice, you don't really need unless you injure, like you have something wrong with like a tendon or like a muscle sprain, something like that. You don't really want to heat it, you want to ice it, but other than that, for soreness, stick to heat. Like a lacrosse ball on the feet, if your feet get kind of bunched up and sore, that's great. And then foam rolling if you're really tight, and then also just stretching. Have a mobility routine. If you need some extra rehab exercises or mobility exercises that don't get covered by your normal strength training, because think about it, strength training is just weighted stretching. So when people say bodybuilders have horrible mobility, I kind of disagree with that, because they're stretching under very, very intense load and probably getting more stretch on your lat than any physical therapy patient is getting from doing some stupid shit on a foam roller or on the tables there. So basically, we're going to go back. We're going to eat now, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you took some things away that are going to be helpful to your training, to your recovery, to your diet, and just, how to enjoy life and how to get a sick pump. So, yeah, guys, subscribe for more.
Coaching down in the bio.
So, yeah, y'all have a great day. Peace.